background to it that way. All right. We have 3 pots here. We're going to talk about the first project now, called Relativity of Color. Now, to begin with, we're going to talk about these 3 pots of water. Imagine you have 3 pots of water in front of you, right? From left to right, you have a warm pot. These are on a diagonal, but imagine this left one. You have a pot of warm water. Here in the middle, you have lukewarm, and here you have cold. So warm, lukewarm, cold, okay? Now, you're going to dip your hands into those warm and cold pots on the outside, right? You're going to feel and experience those 2 different temperatures of warm and cold. But now, you're going to dip both hands into the middle container. And you're going to have a new perception, but they're going to be opposite, this time in reverse order. So that on the left, you now feel cold, and on the right, you feel warm. So when you take the warm hand, put it in the lukewarm, you feel cold. And when you take the cold and put it in the lukewarm, you feel warm. This is called a haptic sense. Relates to the sense of touch. And it's when you experience a discrepancy between physical fact and psychic effect. Right? So the idea is that you were feeling, this is lukewarm water, but it was influenced by what you felt before. So there's kind of a psychic delay happening when you move your hand from the cold into the lukewarm, making your hand feel hot. Right? Now, if you don't have your sketchbook out, get it out. And we're going to begin to describe the first assignment, which is super fun. Our first assignment is simply to make, our first assignment is to simply make one and the same color look different. The first exercise is to make one and the same color look different. Okay, I want everyone to write this quote down. Pause the video if you need to. All right, write this down. Color is the most relative medium in art. Everyone write that down. Color is the most relative medium in art. All right. Yeah, okay. Let's look at some examples. Go through here. These are examples of student work in Joseph Elbert's classes. These are in the book, Interaction of Color. These 2 colors, I believe, are the same. These two central rectangles. But the idea is that they're influenced by the color around them. And I'm not using terms about describing color. I'm just saying, oh, that one looks darker. This one's fun. Get ready. All right? Number 1, number 2. All right, so now we know the central color is the same, this band. But when you cover it up, look how it feels so much darker compared to this lighter orange and so much lighter compared to this blue. These 2 bands of color are maybe arbitrary, maybe not. But they're used to kind of block that out. But as you can see, that is the same color. All right, we have 2 gray squares on some other gray. And now we have those same 2 gray squares, but on a dark kind of green-gray thing and a very, very light green. So I use value terms here, light and dark, to describe these things. You kind of can't help but learn to sort of be observant and describe what the color is doing the more you look at these things that kind of trick your eye, right? Another example. I won't say anything. See if you can see what's happening. I'll shut up. And another. And here's the last one. Another trick shot. when you remove that piece, you can see how this zone and this zone are the same color actually, but look how they're influenced by the, not only color immediately around it, but the distance. The further away this is from that, they feel separate. That's what Gestalt theory says, is that because this is by itself, even though it has the same diagonal kind of parallel lines as that one, it feels like a totally different thing. Okay, so now our assignment is going to be to make 3 of these. You're going to make 3 studies that create the same effect. Okay, so you're going to make 3 studies, 3 practical studies, where 2 small rectangles, like this, 2 small rectangles of the same color and the same size are placed on large grounds of a very different color. So these 2 little ones, same size, same color, are placed on larger grounds. Remember figure-ground relationship, figure and ground? 2 large grounds of different colors. And you're going to try and create an effect. So your assignment is just to make 3 examples of this. Okay? What we're going to find is that we're going to see a bunch of different surprising color relationships come up. When looking at all the classes together, and we're going to post these and be able to see everyone's examples, we're going to see that some work better than others, right? We're going to then separate, we'll be able to separate into ones that have more or less promise, right? Images that work better than others. And through that, we're going to discover what colors are harder to change, or what colors are harder to influence, versus colors that are easier to influence, easier to change. What are those colors? Like this is a dark green, right? At least it looks like a dark green here. But here it feels like a light green. So what is it about that green that makes it easily influenced? It's hard to say, but we're going to learn. We're going to learn through practice how this works. All right? What you find in looking at these things is, let's look at another one. What you find is that there's 2 things happening right now. There's 2 different influencings in direction. There's light and there's hue. Now light is from light to dark, how light is the color, and hue is color. Hue is a better word for color. Because blue is a hue, for instance, right? But in that hue, you can have a dark blue and a light blue. So you can have various shades of light or tints of light on a hue, if that makes sense. Okay? Now, because you have small squares on the large grounds, that forces them to appear different, or incredibly different, or fairly different, depending on the circumstances, right? So by creating 3 of these sketches, you're going to find the best examples. The only colors here that are factually different, that we know are definitely different, are the grounds. Here in this blue and yellow, we know that they're different because they're right next to each other and they're huge areas, right? This shows why scale is so important and proportion are so important. You have to have these little islands isolated on these large grounds to make them so easily influenced by their context. Okay, so again, think about this assignment as being a laboratory. We're not thinking about decoration. We're not thinking about illustration. We're not thinking about representation or any sort of expression of our own self. We're just thinking about color. All right? So have fun with that. Don't pick just those basic swatches of color. Get in there and get some custom colors. Really play around with it and try and make something very unique. For this assignment to be successful, it should demonstrate that you understand this theory, that color is relative, that it's influenced by its context. Okay? Whether or not we arrive at a harmonious color combination is totally unimportant. What's important here is precision in craft, which is going to be easy through Google Sheets, and just sort of sensitivity, that we're like picking interesting color combinations. And through this practice, we're going to figure out what makes for an interesting color combination. And I bet you guys are going to come to some pretty exciting conclusions. Okay, don't do this. In making 3 examples, don't make 3 pairings right next to each other. Why not? You probably can tell. There's too much going on. All these different color combinations are going to be influencing one another. And there's not enough space in this kind of island thing for this little square to really feel alone. So in each of your sketches, do this. This is good. This is going to create the desired effect where this small square can really be influenced. Got it? Let me make sure. Any more notes? Oops. That's it. So that's project 1.